Hello everyone, it's Oliver Harper here, and this video is a new monthly Q&A for Patreon members. So every month I will be producing a video such as this for answering your questions. So instead of doing a Q&A every 3 months, 6 months with Duncan and Richard, there'll be one every month with me, and then I'll probably do one later in the year with all three of us together. So let's get these questions answered. First one is from Wit. What film is your number one guilty pleasure? And what film that is very popular, praised, do you secretly not like or find overrated? Well, my number one guilty pleasure is Street Fighter the movie, which I've answered before. It's a very bad movie, but still very entertaining. A film I find overrated. Now, possibly Godfather Part 2. Now, it's a very good film, but the stuff with Brando, sort of when he was younger, as it flashbacks to him, I kind of felt it didn't really need to be in the film. And the sort of stuff in the present time I found more interesting. It's great seeing all that sort of period setting stuff with Robert De Niro, but I don't know, it kind of felt a bit perfunctory, didn't really need to be there. With the lackluster performances of sequels, remakes and prequels like Terminator Genesis, Point Break, and with upcoming films like Alien Covenant and Blade Runner 2049, do you feel it's possible to make strong sequels or remakes so many years after the initial franchises? If so, what do you think would be the formula to successfully developing and expanding these kinds of franchises? Well, if I knew the formula, I wouldn't be reviewing movies, I'd be producing films. I think it's a formula no one can really crack. Doing remakes and prequels, especially prequels, don't tend to be very good. I don't think we've actually had I don't think we've actually had a prequel that has been successful in terms of its critical acclaim or being praised by the fans. Obviously they have done well financially, but most of the time people have more complaints about them than they do actually support them. So it's a tough one. But as I said, I don't think any prequel so far has been amazing. They've all just been okay or just bad, i.e. the Star Wars prequels. Question from Kevin. With the bombing of Ghost in the Shell and other past flops like Speed Racer and Dragon Ball Evolution, are movies based on anime properties better left alone? Or are they going through growing pains like comic movies did during the early 90s before they found their stride at the turn of the century? And if they're going through growing pains, what do you think it will take for them to become bankable at the box office? Well, when I reviewed Ghost in the Shell with Richard, I did say the IP for that movie was overvalued. So they're spending too much on the budgets for these films. So that film cost, close to 150 million. And I don't believe it's made any profit. I think it's covered its production and possibly marketing stuff, but I do not believe it's made a profit. Things like Speed Racer obviously bombed, and Dragon Ball Evolution was hated by all fans of the anime. So I think it can be done. It's still they're still testing the water. They're going to have a few screw ups till they actually get it right. So come like Akira, which they're planning to do, and they're still kind of deciding who's going to direct that movie, who's going to star in it. I mean, if they give it a $200 million budget, it's going to bomb. It's never going to make enough money because these are kind of niche markets. The niche market is profitable for that market, but to a wider audience, I don't think they're ever going to gel that well. So I think it's going to be over time they'll begin to improve, or they will begin to sort of break away from just being a direct translation of the anime and do something different, tell a new story, set in that world maybe. But don't produce them on huge budgets. Sort of do them kind of small mid-range, like 50 million, and then see it sort of build up enough confidence in that genre or of the anime to live action and see where it goes. But it's going to take a long time to get there. Next question's from Frederick. If you had the power to travel to any place and to any time period, which one would you choose and why? Okay, if I go back in time, I would like to go back to ancient Egypt or Rome, but only be there for a short space of time because I'll probably get killed within 10 minutes. Realistically, I'll probably go back to like 1984. That would be good. Just go see a film, go see Ghostbusters, then go clubbing because all of my favourite tunes will be playing, like Aha, Nick Kershaw and Howard Jones. Bit sad, but if you're going to do it for a few hours, 1984 for me. Next question's from Andre. Do you feel that the James Bond franchise is ready to move on from Daniel Craig, or should he get at least one more movie? Daniel Craig, definitely get one more movie. I don't see them replacing him anytime soon. There's always a bit of hoo-ha. They're going to replace him with someone else, have a woman, or have a black actor. It's all just kind of rumours that just kind of thrown out by the media. I do believe Daniel Craig is going to do one more. I think there's probably even a script already written, but Daniel Craig is, contracted, 1-to-1 movie basis. So he's not on a set 3 movies. It always contracted to do one film. So he can negotiate his fee and have some sort of creative control on the film. So he can fully choose a director, something like that. So I think we will see one more with him, but they'll probably announce something later this year. Question from Michael. With a recent cut in YouTube ad revenues, is it viable for you to continue what you are doing, or do you foresee having to make a professional change? Well, March was a weird one for me. A lot of YouTubers coined it the ad apocalypse due to some adverts playing on inappropriate videos, and then they kind of, pulled all... they always panic and pull the advertising. So in the middle of March, I was having a break for the weekend, and suddenly I was getting messages from people saying there's no adverts playing on your videos. I was like, shit. So and I had to post that day Terminator Salvation. So I thought I'll give it a day or two, see what happens. Then I posted it anyway, and no adverts on it for like a few days, and then they appeared, then they disappeared. And during the course of that month, adverts will just disappear on my videos, and then reappear. It made no sense to me, and the ad revenue did drop by 60%. So, it wasn't brilliant, but I've decided to sort of monitor it for over the coming months and not panic as of yet, because some people rushed out within a space of a week, going, my YouTube channel's fucked, my career's fucked, and started, plugging their Patreon more, which is perfectly fine. But I think it was a bit of a knee-jerk reaction. So things have slightly improved a little bit. So I'm just going to continue with that trend and see what happens. I think most channels that were hit by it were sort of, drama-related videos or like news-related stuff. Because I just review movies. So for the most part, it shouldn't really affect me in the grand scheme of things. But I'm keeping an eye on it. So if things go tits up, then I've got to might have to change my career at one point, which I intend to do anyway. I'm not going to do this for the next 15, 20 years, So, if anything goes wrong, it's my fault, because I've chosen this direction. So, but in this circumstance, it's, I would say it's YouTube's fault for being a little bit careless with the placement of their advertising. Question from Phil: who do you think was or / is better, Stanley Kubrick or John Carpenter? Well, Stanley Kubrick and John Carpenter are totally different directors. John Carpenter's produced and directed far more movies than Stanley. Stanley is, I would probably say, is a stronger visualist and more technically minded, I'd say. I mean, objectively, Kubrick is probably better, but subjectively, I think Carpenter's better because he's produced more movies I enjoy. There's Kubrick's he got over the span of his career, only really just over a handful, where Carpenter's done quite a lot of movies. So if someone said to me, do you want to watch, I don't know, Eyes Wide Shut or They Live, I'll be like, let's watch They Live. Question number 2, what are your thoughts on Robert Rodriguez directing the Escape from New York remake? I have no problem with him doing a remake because John Carpenter approved it and he's happy with it. So if he's happy, then I'm happy. Next question is from Petter. Sorry if I've mispronounced your first name. I think you had mentioned this in a blog update, but I found that when you started using the new colour microphones for the commentaries, there's been a severe drop in sound quality. The sound is more compressed and makes your voices sound muddy with little clarity. When you used the one mic solution, the sound was more open and had a wider dynamic range. Can you go back to the old way of recording, or are you looking to invest in new gear? Well, the old microphone was just a one microphone, as you see in the video specials. And the problem with that, I found, was because 3 of us essentially have to crowd round one microphone. And, if any of us sort of move away from the microphone just by kind of like we're talking or swinging, back and forth with our bodies, whatever, on sitting down, you're going to lose the sound. Or, so I have to, during the course of editing the video, I have to sort of, go through all the audio and kind of, increase or decrease or whatever. So I thought, well, it's best to get 3 microphones so each of us have a clear, equal amount of volume for our voices. And I bought it. I used it on the X-Men Apocalypse review I did last summer, and the feedback was really good. People thought there was an improvement in sound, and everyone could be heard clearly. There has been issues where I've done audio commentaries and I've probably applied too much compression in some cases, where the individual has the microphone not that close to their mouth, so you have to sort of do a little equalizing, which I do, and some cases where I think I did a Generation X video special where my volume on the soundboard was a little bit too high, so it peaked. So that really drove me nuts. So trying to edit that, it was just trying to get it all equal where I wasn't peaking all the time was quite challenging. But other people I've spoken to and the feedback I've received, most people seem far more happy with the 3 mic setup instead of 1. So when you have a microphone slap bang in the middle, you're picking up a lot of excess noise because it just makes the whole sound echoey, like you're in a room. And with the new ones, it sounds like radio quality. So, as you hear on a regular podcast or radio show. So, but I am hoping to invest in the clip mics, the sort of lav mics. But a lot of people have been saying, oh, you should just, jump on and use these now. I think people don't actually know the cost of them. You can get cheap, nasty ones for like £5 or £10, but they do not work. I have tried that option. Most of them, you get a set, like, you get the receiver and the 3 or 1, sometimes 1 clip mic that's cost you nearly £1,000. If I invested in that, device of 3, receiver and 3 mics, I need another individual to monitor the sound. Because you have loads of problems that, the sound may cut out, someone, when they're talking, it's rustling against their shirt. So there's loads of problems, and having just the 3 standard mics we hold in our hand is less problematic, but there is issues with this kind of rustling sound as someone moves and stuff, so which we need to make sure we are keeping up on, that we are aware that we are moving around with our microphones. So it just takes a little bit of practice, but hopefully when things begin to improve in terms of revenue wise, then I can say, look, let's just invest in these clip mics, and if someone else is free to, when we do a recording such as Fix It in Post, who can monitor the sound, then that will be super duper. Next question is from Kirk. You obviously do your homework on your various retrospectives you do. Have you thought about making some short documentaries on particular filmmakers, DPs, composers, etc.? Rob Bottin would be a good one. To be honest, I've not really thought about it that much. I'm sure there's an audience for that, but it's finding someone who I really want to talk about. So maybe something like, I don't know, Richard Donner, or possibly someone like John Carpenter, directors who I love, and know quite a bit about, but I would need to sort of spend a lot of time to make sure the facts are right. There's one guy on YouTube called No Small Parts who does videos on specific actors, and he does a fantastic job and does a lot of research into those actors and their history. But requires a lot of work, and finding all the right clips of all their work you can find. I think finding clips on actors is probably a little bit more difficult than finding stuff on directors, where you can just find tons of interviews over the years. But finding, discussing an actor and finding, a very small role he had in the 70s on a TV show, maybe a bit more of a challenge. But it's a very good idea, and I will consider it. Next question is from Ben. What was the t-shirt Richard was wearing in the Guardians of the Galaxy video? Some kind of Napster / Dawn of the Dead mashup. Now, Richard is here filming the Q&A.
Hello.
So, Richard, what was the t-shirt you were wearing?
Hello. This is really awkward. I made it myself. It's a drum and bass. It's the Dawn of the Dead logo, but it says drum and bass and the Dawn of the Dead font, and I put some headphones on his head.
Homemade t-shirt?
It's a one-off.
It's a one-off.
I sent it away to... I can't remember the name of the company. I sent it away for someone to print it for me.
There you go.
And I wear it off to parties and the such.
You could actually sell it yourself. Sell the little logo. Make your own t-shirts.
I've been threatened by certain people who own the IP to certain films for similar things in the past.
Yes. Fucking hell. Right, okay. Next question is from Robin. What advice would you give your younger self about starting a YouTube channel? What pitfalls, etc. would you have avoided? What have you learnt that enabled your success? If I can go back and speak to myself and sort of give myself advice on my YouTube channel, I would probably tell myself not to use Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert clips, because that caused too many arguments in the comments. People didn't like their opinions. Also, get people to proofread my scripts, because my grammar was atrocious back then. Richard often says the odd comment to me, or Duncan especially. He's a bit of a grammar Nazi, which is fine. Everyone should be corrected. Also, probably not include lengthy clips. For example, if I'm discussing a particular movie and I say to myself, oh, well, I like this particular scene, I often used to just show like 30 seconds of a clip. For example, I did a review on Kroll and I threw in like a 30-second clip from the film Bullet as Steve McQueen's driving around San Francisco. And it went on for so long. I was like, what am I... People still complain about it. I'm like, yeah, done what I was doing. So there's things like that I would tell myself. But it's difficult to sort of say what determined any sort of success. It's generally down to people just kind of showing my work and because for me, my YouTube channel's never really been... I mean, websites do share my stuff, kind of smaller kind of films websites, but it's never really been shared by sort of the big websites where other YouTube channels have been kind of praised and supported and stuff. So I've just kind of been floating under the radar for a long time and sort of slowly building subscribers. So I don't know. It's really hard to say. But there's three things I mentioned I'd probably, tell myself not to avoid and check my scripts. Next question is from Dave. Are prequels just a bad idea and should filmmakers simply be encouraged to avoid making prequels altogether? In your opinion, have any prequels ever really worked or done anything to improve the mythology of the original film? Now, the question I answered earlier, this is a very similar question. So prequels, for the most part, don't really work, as I said. They're not the greatest idea. We all love to know what happened about a particular character, but at the end of the day, your imagination is probably far more interesting than what they actually show you. Because when they actually go back and, like, for example, we just had Alien Covenant, and people are very upset about the mythology of the alien being changed. But if you think about it, the mythology of the alien was always kind of very loose, and we all kind of worked it out in our own minds what it would be. And everyone always thought there'd be an alien planet full of the xenomorphs, which is not the case. So oftentimes when they do show you, it's never what you expect. I would probably most part just avoid prequels because it just ends up buggering up, the original adventures. For example, if you have a film, an action adventure film that's over the top and epic, or actually maybe quite small in scale, but then the prequel they do is huge and it undermines the original adventure, which my friend Richard brought up about his worries about Rogue One sort of being bigger and huge compared to Star Wars, which was the next one on, or A New Hope. But yeah, I would say just avoid prequels. Create something original, or I don't mind doing sequels to 20-year-old films. Tron Legacy I quite liked. I really enjoyed that film despite having a very thin plot, but visually and the music and stuff kind of makes up for those shortcomings. I would say sequels, not prequels. Final question from Daz. One of my favourite months of the year on your channel is the horror season you do every October. Have you ever thought of doing something similar with a different genre or a certain actor or director? I had thought about doing a Canon Films month. That was maybe over a year and a half ago. But a lot of the Canon movies are owned by MGM, who are sometimes a little bit troublesome with YouTube copyright. Sometimes they release claims, sometimes they don't. Depends who you're kind of dealing with that day and who's looking through the disputes. They can just go deny, or accept. It's very difficult to judge that. But I suppose I could do something like a Rocky month where I review all the Rocky movies, so get them all done in one big lump. But at the moment, retrospectives are getting longer and more kind of quite time consuming. So it'd be difficult to sort of do 4 in 1 month. Maybe have to do it over 2 months, But then people may get a bit sick of Rocky by the 4th or 5th week. But I'm going to go ahead and do the Canon Films month because there's some movies I really want to do, like Street Smarts. What was the other ones? One of the Death Wish films. So we've done a few Canon movies. I've done the sort of commercial ones, the big, ones that are quite well known, like He-Man and Superman 4 and Life Force. But there's a couple of movies I want to cover. So I'll write up a list and then I'll kind of publish it on Patreon and say, hey, this is going to happen on this month, blah, blah, blah. But yes, so Canon Films one and then obviously the horror one in October. Question number 2. In your Ghostbusters Lego Xmas video, I noticed the wife, that's my girlfriend, had a few tattoos. Got to ask, have you any? Superman logo, perhaps? No tattoos on me. I'm not particularly keen on having them myself. I have no problem with other people having them. I don't know. I've been quite scared of having a needle going all over you. If I did get one, it probably would be very unoriginal and boring. Just get a Superman logo on my shoulder. But yeah, it's not really something I'm interested in. Final question from Daz: thoughts on the upcoming Predator film? I'm looking forward to it. Big fan of Shane Black. It's really cool to see Fred Dekker's back in the business, kind of helping Shane write the script. I've read a few bits of information like leaked on what the plot is and stuff. It's a bit different to the other Predator films. May cause a bit of a mixed reaction when it comes out, but it's going to be, you know, hard R kind of movie, and it's got all the sort of, you know, lot of practical stuff in it, so it's going to be quite cool to see. I don't know, I'm intrigued. I mean, Predator movies, you know, they're great kind of entertainment, kind of schlock, really. I mean, you kind of know what's going to happen in these movies. They're all going to get picked off one by one by the Predator. So I just hope the new Predator designs aren't over the top and silly like in Predators. I mean, I do quite like Predators, but the new ones they introduced, they just look so ridiculous. So yeah, fingers crossed this movie's good. But yeah, we'll see what happens when the trailer comes out. See what it actually looks like. I'm sure I'll do a trailer discussion with Richard and Duncan, and we'll probably have a good moan about it. But we'll see. But anyway, that's the end of the questions. I am doing a new Let's Get Silly commentary montage soon. So if you have any favourite moments from any recent commentaries or even older ones, which some of the gags I didn't use, if you put the film in the comments below and the timestamp of the moments you like, that'll make my job a lot easier. Or you can email me or leave a message on Facebook or Twitter, so I can get the video together quicker instead of having to sort of go through hours of footage trying to find one little bit you thought was quite amusing. So yes, that's the end of the video, and look out for a new commentary montage soon. Okay everyone, take care and goodbye. If you enjoyed the video, you can find more on my YouTube channel, and also you can follow me on Twitter. If you want to help support the channel, you can donate through Patreon and receive monthly perks such as updates on the latest news on my channel, early access to reviews and commentaries before they go live on YouTube. Even the smallest donation can help keep this channel going. Thank you.